There we go. Now you should be able to hear me a bit better. Can everyone hear me okay? It sound alright? There we go. It's alright. I have had an absolute nightmare this morning with this PC. For some reason, no idea why, it just would not turn on. I was like, right, it's hard. I've got half an hour to go before I start the stream. Let's get setting up. PC wouldn't turn on. No idea why. Tried different cable, didn't work. I was like, right, I'll take it into the kitchen, take it apart, see if I can fix it. Then realised when Katie painted my office, I don't know what she's done, but the Ethernet lead going into the back, she's rammed it. I think what she's done is rammed it into the phone socket in the wall, and then realised, oh, that's not right. Put it in my computer, but she's broke the end off, so I couldn't get the fucking cable out. So it's been a nightmare. I don't know why. My computer's just fixed itself. I thought it was a failed power supply, but it's just working. So if I suddenly disappear through this stream, odds are my computer's killed itself again. But we're here now. We can relax. We can start the flight. So I've got to go through my whole speech again now. Here we are at Bangor International in the lovely DA62 from Diamond yet again. Nice little flight for the finale today down to Newark in New York. Flight time going to be around 2 hours and 20 minutes ish. Maybe a little bit less, hopefully, depending on what the wind's like. And the weather at the moment, unlike the last flight, seems to be working. We've got nice, lovely, clear skies. Despite the fact it's a bit cold in Bangor. It's about -9 on the ground at the moment. But lovely clear skies, and it should be mostly clear skies all the way down to Newark. The approach might get a little bit interesting today. It's supposed to be a little bit gusty once we're down there. Nothing too bad, but it'll be interesting to see. So really, there's nothing to it. I mean, you know, there's nothing weather-wise, nothing to worry about en route. It should be a nice, easy, gentle flight. So, yeah, let's just jump straight into it, really. Let's get the old checklist up. So I'll start with the checklist then. So the before engine start checklist, pre-flight check we would have done as we've come out to the aircraft. But look, you know, before we've even got in it, that's, you know, you'll go around, you'll check things like tyres are pumped up, as stupid as it sounds. One of them, check the suspension on the aircraft, things like that. You know, the struts, all that is checked long before we actually get in the aircraft. Baggage and tow bar is removed. This guy's going to have a bit of a shock when we go away because we're not having a pushback from here. So, yeah, might accidentally take him out slightly. Aux pumps, those are just down here. Those are both off. Those for the aux fuel tank. I should point out today we are going to be taking max fuel, despite the fact we don't actually need to. This journey is going to use so little fuel that we don't need it. But you know what? We're here. We might as well fill it up. We've got plenty of weight left on the mass and balance. The aux power switch, that's turned off. Fuel selectors. Those both go on, and we close the guards to make sure we don't accidentally turn them off in flight. Power levers, make sure they work, and they're set at idle. Parking brake, that's set. Gear selectors down. Pitot heat's off. Avionic masters are off. Electronic masters off. Alternate static is off, which can't really do in this anyway. Alternators, those go on. And the anti-ice is all off. Lovely. Circuit breakers are all in. The ELT down here is armed. So that just basically sends out a distress signal if we were to crash. And the flaps are up. Lovely. Let's get the electric master on. Just got straight into the weather. Let's be able to check the weather. 2687. Lovely and calm, really.
Few clouds at 1,000 feet. Few clouds at 4,400 feet. Few clouds at 11,100 feet. Temperature -9.
-9. No problem there. 2987 on the altimeter on the barrow.
Landing and departing runway 33. DSR aircraft
So 3-3 and the wind's 268, so it's basically 7 knots across, which is fine.
Advise controller on initial contact. You have Oscar.
Lovely. Right. Flight controls. Full forwards. Full back. Full left. Full right.
Have a safe flight.
Who was that? Pesto. Thank you, Pesto. Hopefully it will be a nice safe flight. Although, if any of you have noticed, I've added a few more channel point things in there now. So now we've got hand fly, we've also got do a barrel roll. But you need a lot of points for that one. So, otherwise I'll be doing them every 30 seconds. Like, flaps. Go full down, full back up again. Takes a little while, but you know. There we go. Full down. And all the way back up again. We'll make sure those work properly. Lovely. Trims, we just make sure they work, which they do. Make sure it's neutral. Next is the de-ice enunciation test. What we do, the ice light down here. We hold this down. And we see we've got all 3 lights on the de-icing panel. And then on our PFD, we've got de-ice pressure low, de-ice pressure high, and de-ice level low. So we know all those work. Passengers are instructed. Well, there is no passengers today. It's just me. Safety harnesses are fastened. Obviously, it's a sim. Don't have a seatbelt on my chair. Doors are closed. G1000 powered and acknowledged. Let's acknowledge that. MFD, we set to the fuel page. Total time in service, 35.2 hours. Lovely. And we check the fuel temperature and quantity. We can see we've got max fuel, and it's at -8 degrees, which is fine. Power levers are idle. We turn the strobe lights on now. That lets everybody know we're going to be starting our engines. And we start the engines. So we'll start with the left engine. First of all, we check just the caution, make sure there's no alerts in there as it's flashing away. Lovely. Turn the master on. That gives us oil pressure and glow on. Check no other alerts. Wait for the glow plug to go out, which it has. Hold the starter button. Lovely. That's starting. We can see the RPM's holding steady and the oil pressure's risen. Do the same with the right engine. Check the warnings. Wait for the glow light to go out. Same as starting a diesel car, you know, you got a glow plug, especially in cold weather like this. If you don't wait for it to go out, it will struggle to start. And the oil pressure's risen. Both are sitting a little bit high on the green, but that's just down to how cold it is today. Lovely, so the after engines then checklist. We check the oil pressure, which we have, both in the green. The RPM should be 710 plus or minus 30, which it is. Fuel selectors, we drop those down to crossfeed. Pitot heat we want to check on and make sure it works, so we go to the system page. We watch this amp bar here. When we turn the pitot heat on, that should go off, that should go up. That's gone off, that's gone up slightly. We know it's working. Turn it off. Warning comes on, amp goes down. Check for any other warnings, there isn't any. Lovely. Avionics master. This goes on now, this is what powers our autopilot. And a lot of other instruments. And the weather radar we check. By checking on this, really all we can do is just turn it on. We're not going to see anything today, because there isn't anything around, so that's fine. Next then, is the FMS setup. So what I'll do is just bring up my chart here for Bangor. And what we'll do is we will put 114.8, which is the Bangor VOR, in the nav. As if we're asked to do a departure, that's based on the Bangor VOR. Especially for runway 33. So runway 33, if we get, sometimes you'll get given what's called a SID, which is your departure clearance, which is like a specific route out of the airport, essentially. For Bangor, if we do need to do it, essentially it's fly straight towards Bangor VOR. Once we reach there, we do a heading of 330 and we'll be vectored onto our path. Flight Sim doesn't really seem to follow those, so we're not going to be following them. But it's nice to have it in there just in case. And then, as always, in case we do need to come back for whatever reason, we need to use the ILS. which we'll have the ILS for runway 33, which is 1095, and we'll have that on backup on nav 1. And seeing as there's nothing else we need active on nav 2, let's have it active in there. Lovely. So if we need to come back now, we can. Should the weather suddenly change. Right, we want to set that to GPS. That's what we're going to be following. Other than that, there's not really anything else to do. We've checked the weather. We've set that up. I suppose what we can do, we'll get our clearance.
Clearance delivery, night flight 1 IFR to Newark, ready to copy.
Night flight 1 is cleared to Newark Airport as filed. Take off runway 33 climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Departure frequency is 118.9er, 25 squawk 1474.
1474. Lovely. Let's read back that clearance to her.
Newark Airport as filed. Take off runway 33 climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Departure on 118.9er, 25 squawk 1474.
Night flight 1 readback is correct. Contact ground on 121.9er when ready to taxi.
Lovely. So we'll get ground on the active there. So what we've done, we've got 6,000 feet setting our altitude. So especially if we're on autopilot, it won't go past that. But we know. But then, you know, as we climb, we'll get a little marker on the altitude tape there, just to let us know. Right, that's the altitude we're going to. That's what we're cleared to. We don't want to go higher than that. And then what we've done, we've set the squawk of 1474. That's the little code that ATC can see on their radar. That's how they know it's us. Before we carry on, we check the chat. I'm halfway to the barrel roll, says Pesto. See who can get there first, Pesto, me or you. You know what? If you get there, I will happily... If you claim it, I will happily do the barrel roll. It's the last flight. Let's have a bit of that. Well, depending on where it is. If you get it when I'm like, you know, halfway down final and I'm about 200 feet above the ground, we might have to take off and do a slightly different flight afterwards. But we'll see. If it's like during the cruise, that's a little bit more, you know, I'm all right with that. I've lost where I was now. What was I doing? I was doing the checklist, wasn't I? So, the autopilot test. In this aircraft, obviously in the sim, there's not much you can do other than turn it on, turn it off. We know it turns on, and we know it turns off. And then what we do is just check the trim, make sure it hasn't adjusted that. Floodlight, make sure that works and make sure it turns on. Position lights, you know what, we will have those on. Fuel selectors now, those go back to on. The altimeters, we want to set both of them at 2987, so we've got 2987 there. Actually, that's 2990, so let's set 2987 in there. That's the standby one. And if you remember from last flight, it's a good idea to have that correct, in case, like last flight, both screens just completely die, and we're stuck having to do this a bit complete visually. Standby attitude, that's correct, reading correct. Transponder, we've checked the code and then everything that's in there. The engine temperatures, we make sure everything there is in the green. Oil pressure, oil temperature, coolant temperature, fuel temperature, it's all in the green, which is perfect. And we can start our taxi.
Bangor ground, night flight 1 with Oscar ready to taxi IFR.
Night flight 1 taxi to and hold short of runway 33 via taxiway Alpha. Contact tower on 120.7 when ready.
Taxiing hold short runway 33 using taxiway Alpha, night flight 1.
Right, so taxiway Alpha then. So this is where we're parked up here. Let's look at this chart. Taxiway Alpha is this main one down here. So what we can expect then is to do a little U-turn here, out on this taxiway here. Which way are we facing here? We are facing east, so we want, I believe... Oh god, I can't... what's going on here? Which way is north? And there we're looking. So north's this way, so it's going to be this runway here. So we're going to taxi out, down here, and then hold just here for runway 33. Right then. Go this, go this, go flicker the taxi lights to let him know we're on our way. Release the park. Hold the brakes. Release the parking brake. And what we can do, we'll just flip the votor switches up to A. This engages should allow us to use the fade deck. Or apparently not, actually, for some reason. That's an odd one. Since I've updated this, we don't seem to have the fade deck anymore, which is a bit of a shame, but you know what, it's not the end of the world. Really going to be climbing to probably 8 or 10,000 feet. I believe 8,000 feet is going to give us our
Night flight 1 hold position, caution, other traffic.
hold position. Let's let him know that yes, that's fine. We'll hold
night flight
position.
1.
Other traffic. Where's the other traffic? I mean, I'm looking. I don't see anything, do you? I know we shouldn't move, but I think we're going to have to because I think the flight sim's fucked up a little bit. Let's just sneak forward a little bit onto the taxiway. See if he notices. We're still technically on the apron at the moment, so
Night flight 1
thinking
continue
of it.
taxi.
There we go. Oh, that is really difficult to taxi
Night flight
in
1.
from an outside view like that. I'm going to switch back to an inside view before we start taking out pedestrians. There we go. We're good to continue now. It's definitely taxis a lot easier. We definitely pull away a lot quicker. So Mr. Tommy, who was on the chat last time, he oh, it looks like we've got someone else up there. He's the guy who created the mod for this aircraft. Done a brilliant job at it as well. And I know one of the things he's done in the last update is to adjust it so it should taxi a bit more realistically. And it feels like it is, to be honest. Definitely requires a lot less power now to get moving. So how's everyone's day been so far then? Seeing as we've still got a little bit of a taxi going. How's everyone getting on? Right, so we're out onto Alpha. Don't like having this blue line on. Mr. Ginger Squid, not too bad. Done some housework, now sorting out my iPod and getting some podcasts downloaded. Nice. I really need to get some housework done, to be honest. Like, I've been slacking. I'm not gonna lie. It's not that my house is a mess. I should point that one out. My house is clean and tidy. It's just not as clean and tidy as I'd like. Here we go, so we've got the little loop area here. We've got no one behind us waiting, so you know what? I'm just going to... Normally, you could go over there to your run-up in the little run-up area. To be honest, looks like there's another holding point over there anyway, so if anyone was to come behind us whilst we're doing our run-up at the line here, and they were ready to go sort of thing, potentially they could go ahead of us by 80, would basically make them taxi around us. So we come to a stop at the line. Put the parking brake on, and now we can do our run-up tests. Grip in a box. I'm building a flight controller for KSB stream later. I need some extra buttons and access. Yeah, good luck. I've seen some of the shit you do when you're building stuff. I wouldn't even know where to begin with stuff like that. Right, so the parking brake is on. Doors are closed. We've got no warning telling us about the doors being open. All our circuit breakers are in. Our electric trim, make sure that still works and make sure it's still neutral. Fuel selectors, we're checking those are both set to on. Rudder trim, we're going to leave that in neutral where it is. Flaps, for a standard takeoff, we go one stage of flaps, which is takeoff flaps. What else have we got? Flight controls, we're going to check these. So we're going to go full forward, full back, full left, full right, and then the rudders, centre, full left, centre, full right, and back to centre again. Power levers are at idle, MFD. We've just checked, make sure everything's in the green, which it is. All pressure's just on the lower end of the green, but that's fine. Engine temps, all in green, lovely. So now we do the ECU test. So, as per usual, we start here. We start with the ECU test for engine A. ECU B fail. One of the updates now, it actually does these one at a time. So it'll rev up, feather the props, and then idle. And then it will do the same for ECU A, rev up, feather the props, and back to idle. And the warning goes out. And then we do the same for the right hand engine. ECU B fail, revs up, feathers the props, back to idle. ECU A fail, rev up, feather the props, back to right idle. You've kind of got it by now. Lovely. That's the ECU test done. Simple as that. Pitot heat, we're going to turn that on. Ice protection, we don't really need any today. So, ice protection, normally one on, above, when it's below 10 degrees, and visible moisture. Yeah, it's well below 10 degrees at the moment, it's obviously still -9, but I don't. The only thing we got visible moisture is a few clouds in the distance, so if we look like we're headed into those, we can turn it on during the flight. We definitely don't need it on the ground. Transponder. We set that to out reading now, so now ATC can see us, they can see how fast we're going, how high we are. Fuel pumps, we turn both of those on. MFD back on the default page, and we're good to go. So we're going to get onto the runway, we're going to go full power, take it to about 76 knots, and then that's when we'll rotate. We know someone's already on the runway, but we'll call, tell them we're ready anyway.
Bangor Tower Night Flight 1 at runway 33, ready for takeoff IFR to Newark.
Night Flight 1 holds short runway 33. Traffic is generic on the runway.
Hold short
Lovely.
runway 33.
So he knows we're ready. We're just waiting for this guy over here now to actually taxi off who's just landed.
Wiggins Airways 1044, turn next taxiway.
So I believe that's actually live traffic, so it's not another player. That's like actually, if you were to look at Bangor Airport now, you would see that plane has just landed on the runway. If you looked at like flight radar or something like that. And now we wait. No one else on approach. What time is it? So it's 8:30 in the morning is our local time. Come on, mate, hurry up. Okay, now. Has he just stopped? No, he is moving. He's just taking the piss. Tell you what. Why don't we crack on then with the whilst we're waiting. Put some nice chill music on. There we go. There we go. Sounds like he's off the runway. Clear for takeoff. Lovely.
Traffic is generic on final. 121.9 or Wiggins Airways 1044.
Cleared for takeoff runway 33.
So we got one aircraft on final. So we won't fuck around. We'll just get going. So let's taxi out. There is one on final. I can't see him. Oh, there he is over there. Wiggins 1204. Get lined up. Start the stopwatch. Full power. And rotate. Nice gentle rotation. Only up to about 10 degrees pitch. We're going to keep the landing gear out just for now because we've got plenty of runway left that if we needed to have an engine power and land now, we could. But we are starting to run out of runway now, so we'll hold the brakes in. And lift the landing gear. Lovely, a nice height as well now, we can bring the flaps in. And let's start a left turn to get on track.
Bangor departure on 118.925.
Bring the power back now to about 95%.
Bangor departure night flight 1 is climbing through 1,400
A little bit quick, but you know what?
feet.
Fine.
Night flight 1 Bangor departure. Continue to Echo November. Echo is planned. Altimeter 29.87.
It's got a little bit of an intercept head in here. Right, continue as planned. So we'll set FLC mode. Going the wrong way there. Come on, let me set 93 knots. Okay, it's only doing it in tens, which is annoying, so we'll set it to 100. We'll set nav mode. And that gives us our flight director there. Let's turn on track. Zoom the map out as well, which is good. Right, we are away. Get the autopilot on. Now I think she has us cruising at 6,000 feet, so I'm just going to ask for an increase of 2,000 feet. Oh no, it's classed as 16. Whoops, my mistake.
Night flight 1 climb.
I want about 8,000.
6,000 feet. Expect 16,000 feet.
So what we'll do, just request a decrease now of 8,000 feet.
Bangor departure night flight 1.
8,000 feet is going to give us about the best sort of time to follow.
Night flight 1 climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Expect 8,000 feet.
Climbing 6,000 feet, expect 8,000 feet. Perfect, that's what we want.
Climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Expect 8,000 feet night flight.
Right, we can get the landing light off, get the fuel pumps off. The gear's up, the flaps up. We're on track. We have got a hell of a crosswind, so we've basically got 27 knot crosswind in the air at the moment, which if you look at the track, we're heading in that direction, but the wind is blowing us along the pink line. That's how far off we've got to turn just to be on that track. I don't know why the FLC mode suddenly doesn't allow me to do 1 knot increments and only 10, but it's not the end of the world.
Night flight 1 climb and maintain 8,000 feet.
Climb and maintain 8,000
Climb
feet.
and maintain 8,000 feet night flight 1.
It's going to do quite a sharp rise, but now that's fine. Right, we've got 1,000 feet to go. We are screaming up at 1,600 feet a minute, but that's coming down. I was going to start reducing it to about 1,000 feet per minute, but you know what? It's coming down anyway. That's fine. There we are, just starting to level out. I'm going to leave it 95% just for a minute, just let the speed increase. Lovely. There we are, leveled out. So we're going to bring the power back now to about 90%. There we are. 90%. Speed should level out around the 165 mark, just into the yellow. Being in the yellow belt part of the band is not an issue unless you start getting sort of quite bad turbulence, for instance. On a nice smooth day like this, it's fine. So we'll have a quick check then at our T's and P's. 90%. RPM's where we expect to be. Fuel is where we expect it to be. All T's and P's are in the green. And we know our fuel's fine. And then that's it. Should we go for a nice outside view? There we are. It's actually not a bad view. It's better than looking at oceans the entire way, that's for sure. If at any point during the flight as well you're sort of interested where we are, things like that, I believe, you'll have to check it for me, I believe I've enabled an extension called Flight Sim Mapper or something like that. It should bring up a map of exactly where we are. It's linked to the Flight Sim, so it should show you all the information. So we'll quickly look at like speeds and things like that, shall we? So we're currently, obviously, we're showing as 162 knots. Our true speed is actually 178, just because obviously we're at the altitude we're at. Taking into account the wind, which is a little bit of a headwind, but a little bit across as well, it's actually just slow us down a bit. So we're going along the ground of 164. No, I didn't actually. Where is it? Mr. Ginger Squid redeemed hand fly, this son of a bitch. Right, okay. Thank you for pointing that out, because I can see that. I need to set it up so it actually alerts me when that happens, so let's disengage the autopilot. Important thing is, let's just keep this level. It goes a little bit weird when you first take the autopilot off on this. It doesn't seem to trim it right. So you take it off and initially just sort of either nosedives, or sometimes it just points to the fucking moon. There we are, look, see we're hand flying. Left, right, bit of proof there. You can see the autopilot's turned off as well. That's kind of fucked it up a little bit there. There we go, let's level back out again. I still haven't got around to sorting out sensitivity on these controls, you know. There you go. If I bring up the Twitch manager rather than looking on the OBS chat, it actually does show up a bit better.
Contact Austin Center on 128.2.
Going to 128.29 flight 1.
Oh, it's a little bit bumpy. little bit of
Boston
turbulence,
Center,
nothing too
night
bad.
flight 18,000 feet.
Just a little bit of light chop.
Flight 1 Boston Center, continue to Echo November Echo as planned. Altimeter 29.902.
So 29902. I'm just going to set that using the keyboard shortcut, to be honest. Is the music and everything at a nice level for you guys as well? I'm a little bit off track as well there. What's happened when I don't concentrate for a few seconds? Yeah, it's only a couple of degrees, we'll just turn it back. Only just off. There we go, it's coming back now, isn't it? Really relaxing. That's good. That's what I'll go for. A nice, relaxing, chill flight. Hoping this will be a nice, sort of chill, uneventful finale for this. God, that fucking is a little bit choppy though. It's bouncing us around a little bit.
Night flight 1 traffic is 9 o'clock, 4 miles at 6,100 feet Cessna Caravan. Report
There he is. I see him.
Night flight 1 traffic in sight.
There he is. Glare's a bit of a pain, but we can see him. That's sent me miles off now. It really does. It's awful, isn't it? Fucking hell, plane. Getting bounced around all over the place here. That trim is really sensitive as well. This doesn't help. I don't know why that's suddenly a lot more sensitive than it is normal. Put the autopilot back on now. We've done a bit of hand flying there. Let's have a look at the views for a little bit. That. We go to here. There we go, that's a nice view. Not too sure what the ETA isn't working. It's this this software I use, not the overlay. It's not great. I'll try restarting it, see if that'll help. Seemed to fix it last time. No, it doesn't want to give us an ETA for some reason. Oh well. It's not the end of the world though. Let's have a quick look where we are. So apparently off to my right is the city of Augusta. Can't say I know anything about these places, but where are we looking? It looks like a big town on a map. But America, everything's big, so, you know. Let's have a look inside, see if we can work out the ETA whilst we're waiting. So, according to this, assuming that our speed doesn't change and that the wind doesn't change really, we've got an estimated time en route of 107 minutes. So it's less than 2 hours. You know what I mean? It's like, what, it's an hour and 47 minutes? Compared to some of these flights that have been on this route, this is, you know, it's nothing, is it? Some lovely countryside though. Be interesting to watch it build up as well. Obviously, we're going into like New York, you know, some of the most built-up area in the world. So it'd be interesting. You'd be able to just see how it's like, you know, countryside and the suburbs and moving on into the city. So that must be Augusta over there then. That huge... Well, it's quite clearly like a built-up area over there. the airport in the middle. Again, I know nothing about these areas. If you came here for like a tour guide, I'm sorry, that's not me. I can't help you with that one. Also, as I said before, obviously this is live, so we've got the game mode set to live. So if you have Flight Sim, feel free to come and join for the flight. I know Jamie Walton's come and joined in the past. Question is, I mean, what am I supposed to do once this is over? You know, once I finish this, and I need to find another flight. Tell you what, let's create a poll. There we go, I'll put a quick poll up. Just to see what, we'll work out what the next flight should be. See what you guys want to watch next. What type of landing today? ILS, RNAV, or a manual? Oh, it depends, you know. I suppose we could go for the visual. It's supposed to be a little bit crosswindy actually when we get there. They'll probably give us the ILS, but I mean, if the weather stays like this, I said we just go straight in for another visual. Once we're near the airport, we'll cancel the IFR. We'll just go in visually. Annoyingly, I don't think you can do keep the IFR and do a visual approach still on these, which is a shame because you can do a visual approach under IFR conditions. Well, not IFR conditions, but you know, under an IFR flight. Which makes sense, you know, the weather's like this, it's much quicker, much more efficient. Depends, what do you guys want? Do you guys want the full ILS? I can try and do an RNAV. I don't know how well RNAV works in this, but we can give it a go. Or we can just go visually. ILS. Happy to do an ILS. Where are we at the moment? Following the coast down to Portland. I've heard of Portland. I was going to say, yeah, can one of my mods ban that guy, please? And that guy.
Night flight 1 traffic is 10 o'clock, 4 miles at 7,100 feet, Beechcraft B36. Report
There he is. We see him.
Angel flight 1818 traffic is 10 o'clock, 4 miles at 8,000 feet, diamond to 62. Report them in sight.
Night Flight 1 have the Beechcraft B36 in sight.
Again, I believe that's another live aircraft, so again, if you were to look on Flight Sim right now, you should be able to see that. Thank you, Crip in a Box, for sorting that for me. So this looks like quite a major city. Where are we? This is Brunswick. Does anyone happen to know anything about Brunswick? I don't even know what state we're in. That's the problem. I assume Maine still. Yeah, we are. Brunswick, Maine. What's the poll looking like at the moment? Ooh, a 50-50 split between learn to fly the CJ4 jet or a nice tour of the UK coastline. That area looks quite nice down there. I imagine that's quite a nice place to live. Just that little bit sticking out into the water over there. I just like watching the views, you know, around here. It's a lovely game. Pretty stunning visuals. I did try to find an interesting fact about Brunswick, but the best thing I can come up with from Wikipedia is population of 20,278 in 2010. In case you're all wondering. Home to Bowdoin College? Trying to make it as interesting as I can, trying to find some facts on the way, but there isn't that many, to be honest. Brunswick, it's a place. You're right, it is. I mean, I think maybe it's just Maine in general. The county. It's not counties, it's a state. The state of Maine. I mean, yay. I can't say I know anything about the state. I'm assuming this is Portland up here, this very, very, very well built up area. I'm not gonna lie, I keep staring at a chat. I'm waiting to see Pesto Hardinho claimed the do a barrel roll, because I know it's going to happen at some point during this flight. Oh, the polls ended. A 50-50 split. You haven't helped me out here. A 50-50 split between the UK coast and learning to fly the CJ4 jet. Why not both? I suppose we could do both. There's nothing stopping us. Do both at the same time. We'll do a tour of the UK coast whilst also learning to fly the jet. How difficult can that be? I mean, I can fly a jet. Well, I say I can fly a jet. It's been a long time since I've flown a jet now. But, you know, I'm sure I can still do it. Okay, now you can see the angle with the wind, look. How we're sort of crabbing off to the side. I'm doing a thing with my hand at the same time to demonstrate that and realise I haven't got a cam on, so... It's a very busy place down there, isn't it? I mean, it looks nice. Sure, Portland's a lovely place. Be right back, going outside to do some cutting with the graph. What is he doing? He was making a flight control for Kerbal Space Program. Why has he got a grinder? know. Do you want to maybe check on him, make sure he's okay? Make sure he hasn't gone entirely insane. I appreciate he's a bit of like a mad doctor type sort of guy, but from what he's described, it sounds like something you could cut with a Dremel, not a bloody grinder. I'm liking this music. It's a bit different to the sort of lo-fi beats we normally go for. A bit of just gentle jazz. Makes it feel a little bit more chill. How far have we got till Echo November Echo? 16 miles to the first waypoint, which is the Echo November Echo VOR. Runway 22 left, localizer 108.7. I'm happy to go for an ILS. We'll definitely go for the ILS when we get there. Got a little while yet. How long have we got left? 87 minutes, a little over an hour. Let's have a look. So Echo November Echo. Let's go back to the paperwork. Let's do this properly. At Echo November Echo, we have 228 miles. We're expecting 20.7 gallons of fuel, which is our absolute minimum. On board, we have 74.6. Quite a little bit more above. So fuel is not an issue here. I mean, we'll double check. We always double check. You want to make sure you haven't got a fuel leak or something like that. So you always double check to make sure, even if you know you're gonna have miles above. You can also make sure things like your fuel burn down here, your fuel flow is correct. And from Echo November Echo, it's straight to Fama, waypoint Fama. What should the wind be? So right now, expected about 261 at 30, a lot less, which is perfect, it's what we want. Light winds. Cuts that time right down. you guys are enjoying the stream as well, feel free to join our Discord channel. There should be a little link just in the little about box, and there should be another one actually just down in the little panel area. But yeah, feel free to join our Discord. We've got a little group of us who we usually always streaming something. So there's myself, you've got Solar Rocket, Pesto Hydinio, Crip in a Box, Gaming with Cookies, who I've got to say did a really good stream yesterday of the Tomb Raider. ZHB and RJ Park as well. ZHB226N1, hey there, you mic'd up. You've got a question? Go ahead, man. Go ahead with your question. I'll do my best to answer it. How does bleed air work for air conditioning? Ah, right. Pressurization. So, bleed air you tend to get on your obviously your commercial jets, like the 737 for instance, and it actually takes the air from the compressed air from the engine. Explain the schematics. See if I can get it up. See if I can find a picture. I can't really describe it. I can try and put up. Right, let's have a look. Where is it? Trying to get me little pictures up here from when I did my training. So, it's actually taken. It's normally taken from the low pressure side. I think it's about the. Don't quote me on this. I believe it's the 5th stage compressor. So you're low. You've got your low pressure there. If for any reason we would normally keep it on auto. We can also flick it to high. Obviously, it'll also do that automatically if for whatever reason it's not drawing enough air, enough pressure. In which case, it takes it from the 9th stage, which is your high pressure, and it gets used for a lot of things. So your high pressure tends to be taken usually more during like your sort of takeoff and landings. Cruise, very rare you need more than low pressure, to be honest. It's all done automatically. There's a little DC valve which, when you turn it on, it opens DC valve. From there, it's self-regulating with the pressure. And you just got your on your air panel in the flight deck. It's just the 2 bottom switches you have. So you've got 3 switches along the bottom. Your left one is your bleed air for engine 1. Your right one's bleed air for engine 2. And then obviously your middle is your bleed air to take from the APU. Obviously, when the engine's not running, you use that air to start the engines, and also power the air conditioning in the cabin. Which is the reason you turn the packs off when you start the engine, because it's just there wouldn't be enough pressure there to start the engine and run the air conditioning. It can trip off as well. Something you'll tend to do in a simulator. I've never had it happen for real, but occasionally it can trip off, which is usually it's overheated, or it can be overpressurized as well. I believe the QRH says you leave it for a little bit and then you turn it on. You also have schematics for electrical hydraulics, like valve diagrams, like just going through it on stream, just to have a better feel understanding schematic pathways and systems. I have my commercial pilot's license with the Osovini 1500, and like how it should be in Europe. Yeah, oh, Solar Rock, don't you start. Can you run packs off an APU? You can. So you can run the packs off the APU. So when you're sat on the tarmac, passengers are, you know, are boarding, you'll have the APU on and you'll have the packs on as well, which is just called the cabin. You'll turn the packs off just to start the engines. It's just to make sure that there is enough pressure, enough air pressure basically, because the APU, it's not all that powerful. You just want to make sure there's enough pressure to start the engines. I mean, there's a lot to it. I will have to do. I will eventually do a stream. If that's what you're into, yeah, I'll happily do a stream one day. I might look at doing another channel then for that. I'll look at potentially doing another channel. We'll do. I'll basically do streams purely on like the 737 and aviation and things like that. We can go through schematics and diagrams, things like that, just to help with any sort of training issues that anyone has. Can you go over hydraulics, electrical briefly for the 737? I mean, what sort of things are you interested in? I mean, hydraulics, electrical covers quite a large spectrum of things. Just showing hydraulics and schematics. Let me see if I can find one, because annoyingly, the only one I've got is in my paperwork for like my manuals for work. And I can't put those up on stream, annoyingly. Try to see if I can find one online which would allow me. Let's have a look. See what we can find. 737. Trying to find a nice sort of semi-basic one, because you can get some very, very overcomplicated diagrams out there. Especially ones, obviously, especially if they're made more towards engineers and stuff. Right, this looks like a good image here. What sort of size is that? Are we actually going to be able to read that? Right. Let's see if I can put this up on stream without breaking the stream. I like your posture check icon. Oh, the little chair. I'll try to do what I can. Have you seen the my new barrel roll one from Star Fox? Do a barrel roll. Right, let's see if I can get up a... Where's... Game. No, not game. I want flight sim. See if we can add an image into this. Let's make sure we put the right one up, eh? Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change showcase camera like that. I can move that over there, so that when I do this, there we go. Now we have, this is the pressurization diagram for a 737 NG. So let me go through this. Let me get a bigger version up, because I can't see that at all on mine. You should be able to see it on yours, hopefully. Next gen is what it stands for. Probably. Right. So we'll go for the basic system. So your bleed air. I was right. 5th and 9th stage. So you've got your low pressure, high pressure. These are DC activated. Can I bring it up? I can't have to bring it up. So if you look at the left-hand engine. There you go. So you've got your fifth stage and your 9th stage, depending on whether you want high or low pressure. That hot air from the engine is what's taken directly to your engine anti-ice. So if you follow it from the 5th stage, I can't really bring a cursor up, can I? Which is annoying. Which is like the top red line. It will go across, down, and then up to the engine anti-ice. The hot air then goes for a pre-cooler, which just uses the cold air from the engine, which just literally cools the air, so it's no longer hot, it's nice and warm instead, because it does get very, very warm. The warm air operates the starter valve, that's pressure activated, so you can occasionally get that when you're starting the engine. The start valve won't open or won't close, tends to be due to low pressure. Same for the wing anti-ice. Again, you'll flick the wing anti-ice on, it's a pressure activated valve. Again, sometimes it may not open. Obviously 99.999% of the time it does. It's only if for some reason there's low pressure, in which case you'll get the QRH out and just follow the steps through from there. Obviously you've got coming from the left and the right, which obviously they mix. So where you have your isolation valve. If you look at the top in the middle, that's your isolation valve you have. Yeah, you're correct. So if your isolation valve is closed, for instance, the APU is unable to supply any air to. So yeah, so it's just the cooler air after it's been through the cooler. So you've got basically you have a left side and a right side. So if you're starting from the APU, if you're starting the right engine, you have the isolation valve open, so that the air can travel up from the APU, across, down, and then into the engine to get it spinning up and get it started. So once your right engine started, for instance, if you wanted the air conditioning on, if you're in a very, very hot country and it's a very, very hot day, occasionally you'll want to get the air conditioning on before you've started both engines. So what you'll do in that, there is a supplementary procedure where what you'll do is you'll start the right engine, you'll close this isolation valve, it stops any air then from the APU going to the engine, otherwise you have what's called dual bleed, which means you've suddenly got air. Oh, hang on a minute. Contact Boston Centre.
128.3259 flight 1. Boston Center night flight 18,000 feet.
Night flight 1 Boston Center, continue as planned. Altimeter 29.96.
Right, continue as planned, and I've just updated the QRH. So yeah, so the isolation valve in your on your air panel, you'll have your left pack, your right pack, and in the middle you'll have your isolation valve. You have that to open to start the engines, and then normally then it's from there it's on auto. You can close it if you wanted to have the air conditioning on, so you can have the right engine powering the air conditioning, the APU starting the left engine. What happens with each valve and direction of the airflow system. So let's have a look. Let's get this up. So I don't want to give you misinformation.
Southwest 4119er, contact Boston Center on 1.
Yes, so you'll start the. Do you say right? Let's go through these. Do you say 9er instead of 9 like the game? I mean, you should. Technically, you should say 9er instead of 9. Engine up procedure. Just trying to find in the technical manual if I can find you the exact procedure. do you guys start the right engine first? If we do start the right engine, why? Honestly, I'm not sure. I would assume the reason for starting the right engine first, especially if you're on the APU, is that should for any reason it be under pressure or anything like that, you can close the isolation valve. I would assume it's something to do like that. Without going through pages and pages of stuff, I couldn't tell you for sure. Like I said, I don't want to promise. I don't want to give you any sort of incorrect information. Just trying to find it now. Someone said it's because it right is away from jetways. I mean, the thing is, yeah, there's really a lot of, I suppose there's potentially quite a lot of reasons that could be one, but again, you just push back and just start them a bit later. If we can really tackle this bleed air, you've been trying to study this for a while. So what is it specifically that you need to know? Because I mean, the diagram, obviously trying to explain diagram in this stream. What I need to do, like I said, I need to try and do an actual stream where we can go through this properly. Mainly where I can bring a cursor up and I can highlight stuff on the picture to show you.
123.75 for FedEx 647.
Pier 7, contact Boston Center on 123.75.
Just like following the flow. So, as far as I'm aware, then you'll have you'll have your APU running. You'll activate the bleed air for the APU. That will supply air. Obviously, if you're starting the right engine, the air will go up from the APU on the engine start across. You have your isolation valve open, which is a manual switch. So that will go open, down, and across to the starter valve, which will open the starter valve and allow the engine to spin up. You don't need the air starter if you've got APU. The only time you'll use a pneumatic ground cart is if you don't have an APU, which again can happen, especially in the middle of summer. It's very hot. The APU is worked like crazy. It can very, very quickly burn out the APU, and you don't have one. So you'll use a ground cart like that. But 99% of the time, you're going to be starting off your APU. So the air is used just to open the start valve, allow the engine to spin up. Once the engine then gets up to what is it? 56%. That valve will close. You're flying over Londonderry now, and there's Portsmouth, Exeter. Oh God. Well, I fucked up if I have. I know we're near Manchester. Yeah, that'll open the start valve. You'll close start valve will close around 56% N1. And then from there, what will happen is you'll start left engine, and the air is essentially exactly the same. Once that's running, and you've got your packs on, that will take. When the starter valve closes, what happens? At that point, the engine is on its own, but your pack is closed. So by that point, you'll be because your bleed air will be on. You'll be taking air. You'll have a dual bleed light come up, and you'll be taking air from the engine and the APU. So your isolation valve will close, I believe, if I'm thinking correctly. But because you've then got, for instance, the left pack, you've got APU air and engine air, you'll have dual bleed. If you've got dual bleed, you don't want to use much air at all, because you very quickly you don't use much throttle at all, because you'll very quickly over pressurize it. So before you start taxiing away, you'll turn the APU off. It supplies the pack, which is your air conditioning, from the 5th stage, which is your low pressure, through the pre-cooler, which just takes cool air from the front. Cools the air. It's like it's still warm. It's still hot air. It's just not as hot as it would be coming from the engine. That goes to the left pack into the air conditioning unit, which basically the way it works. Reduces, is it the static pressure or the dynamic pressure? I can't remember. I believe it's the static pressure. It reduces the static pressure, which very quickly cools the air down to a below zero, very cold temperature. The bleed trip sensors are purely there. They basically pick up, for instance, if it's overpressured or over temperature, they can basically just trip off the bleed, close this valve, and stop over-pressurised air from reaching the rest of the engine. Crip in a box, you're back. Nice to see you. Solar Rocket, what is this, Little England? I mean, kind of, yeah. I mean, I suppose this is probably like where the first settlers would have probably been, I assume. You know, it's over on the east coast, isn't it? So, sort of Boston way, I imagine that's where the first sort of settlers headed over into the US. Duct pressure transmitter. Duct pressure transmitter, I would assume is going to give you, is literally what it says. So on your air panel, you've got a little dial which tells you the duct pressure. I assume that's what it shows. The water tank. The water tank, I would imagine, is the water tank. Yeah, so the water tank is your onboard water tank, like when you go to the toilet and you wash your hands. It's that water tank, and it just uses the air to basically pressurise it. So obviously, when you're at 30,000 feet, you can wash your hands. That's literally what it is. It's it's the onboard water. Oh, hang on, we've been acknowledged last transmission. Contact Bangor departure. Boston Centre. I was going to say Bangor departure. Fucking hell, that was a long time ago. Boston Centre.
Boston Centre, night flight 18,000 feet.
Night flight 1 Boston Center, continue as planned. Altimeter 30.00.
3000. Make sure that's set. Let's just make sure we have got 3000 set. Camera, cockpit. Let's have a look in here. So we've got 2992, so we want 3000.
Boston Center is at 8,300 feet, climbing 10,000 feet.
3000 set in there.
Continue as planned. Altimeter 30.00. Tier 7 contact Boston Center on 128.325.
Go over the other areas. Let's have a look. What other areas have we got then? So your hydraulic reservoir. Again, that's literally it. So under the wheel wells. Under the wheel wells, you've got a couple of big tanks, which hold your hydraulic fluid. And literally, again, it just pressurizes the hydraulic system. Uses the air. The air is used for basically everything. It's used to pressurize the hydraulic system. When using where does the air go when using the ground air starter? Okay, so with the ground air starter, let me get up the KEWR so we can go through this properly. If I can remember where my documents are. Let's get the supplementary procedure for starting with no APU. You have to give me a second just to find it. Okay, manual B, supplementary procedures. External aircar use, there we go, that's what I'm looking for. So, the supplementary procedure, according to Boeing, for starting with the ground air is APU bleed air switch off. So the APU, you've got the APU bleed air valve switch there. Odds are your APU is not going to be running, but obviously you don't want it to go the other way and start trying to feed the APU. So you turn the APU bleed air switch off. The isolation valve you have open. Pack switches to auto. Is this for? Let's have a look. Let me show you what this is for. Sorry, this is for. So this is supplying the packs. For actually starting, we want supplementary procedure 7. Where's 7? SP7. Starting with ground air source. There we go. So, for starting with the ground air source, you'll only start one engine. You'll start one engine on stand with the ground air cart. What you'll do then is you'll push back, and once you're fully pushed back and stopped and the tow bar is removed, you'll do a cross bleed start, which is where you, rather than using the APU bleed, you'll use the bleed from the started engine to non-start. So you will start the it's the other way around with a pneumatic cart. You start the number 1 valve. So you'll leave the you leave the isolation valve open, and you start the number 1 engine using normal procedures. So it's exactly the same as starting as any other time. It's just all it is. You'll be starting the left engine first rather than the right engine. Why start the left engine first though? I mean, I assume it's to do with System A reservoir. I can't remember what System A. I think System A powers. Let's have a look. 737. Yes, your N1 is your essentially the big fan on the front, and then your N2 is I can't remember exactly what stage, but sort of high pressure. And when you set an N1, what you're setting is a percentage of its maximum speed. So System A. I'm not sure really. Why would you use System A? No idea. The only thing I can assume is because it does the nose wheel steering. So yeah, your hydraulic reservoirs are, like I said, they're just purely there. You've got hydraulic system A, hydraulic system B. System A does your number 1 engine reverser, your flight spoilers, autopilot A, alternate brakes, ground spoilers, nose wheel steering, landing gear. B does a bit of everything, does your number 2 reverser, flight spoilers, yaw damper, normal brakes, alternate nose wheel steering, autopilot B, trailing edge flaps. Together they also both do the ailerons, the elevator, the rudder, and then you have a standby system as well. Your standby system though is part of system B. Well, there we go. That's why you start it engine 2 first. System B is, yep, flying over Worcester, Leominster and Westminster. Like I said then, Solar Rocket, this must be, like I said, I can only assume, the area where... no, I can only, yeah, this must be the sort of area then where they first settled when people went over to America. Hence all the British town names, because they would have just obviously picked the cities and that's supposed they'd come from. Which I think's right, because I'm almost certain Boston was part of that, wasn't it? I believe. How does that water tank work? It's just pressure. What does it need pressure, sir? Okay, so it takes the... Yeah, so it's pressurised by the bleed air. So that basically when you're washing your hands or flushing the toilet in the cabin, yeah, toilet and sink. That's basically it. That's what the water's used for. It's so that you've actually got some water pressure. Because there's no, as far as I'm aware, I don't believe there's a pump on the water tank. So it uses the air to pressure it. Well, I've had the showers in first class, I suppose. But as far as I'm aware, there's no water pump to be able to get it to the tap, because like I said, as far as I'm aware, there's no water pump on the actual water tank itself. It just purely uses the air pressure to pressurise the water, so the water can get to the tap, can get to the toilet, can get to wherever it needs to go. Right, let's get rid of that bleed air picture anyway now. Let's go back to flying. Because I've kind of lost where we are now. Let's have a look. We're still on track, that's always a good sign. Right, we're going towards Falmouth. Falmouth's still 115 miles away. Which means we're still quite far away from Newark, but we can enjoy the view. We're over towards Boston and the harbour. But I've got the Boston accent makes me... I can't do it, as you've just seen. What that means, why does it need the pump, what the pump do. The pump is like... So normally, yeah, you need the pressurisation, because the water is just sat in a tank. Without pressurisation, if you open a tap, you're not going to get any water out of it. You need some pressure to move the water from the tank to the tap. So, for instance, in your house, the water is supplied at pressure. In the UK, it's about 2 bar of pressure, 1.5 bar of pressure. That's why you would turn your tap on, water comes out. If you didn't have any pressure, you'd turn your tap on, nothing would come out. The water would still be sat in a hole in the ground somewhere. So it's the same on the aircraft. It will pressurise the water tank so that the water can be moved, like it can reach the taps. It's not stored at pressure. Yeah. Yeah, it's literally the water being pressurised. Water or the tank? Well, it'll be a bit of both. By pressurising the water, you're pressurising the tank.
Flight 3604 is at 4,900 feet, climbing 9,000 feet. Swift Flight 3604 Boston Center, continue as planned. Altimeter
No, no problem, man. Like I said, I will have to sort of try and arrange to do an actual stream where we can go into very, very nerdy aviation type things.
Boston Center, November 783 Juliet Sierra is at 9,700 feet climbing.
How long until touchdown?
Generic November 783 Juliet Sierra, Boston Center, continue as planned. Altimeter 29.904.
So, Solar Rocket touchdown will be in around 50 minutes time. I don't know why on the overlay, for some reason, we're not getting an ETA. I've tried resetting it. It didn't like it. But nevertheless, here we are. Let's have a look. What's the weather doing in Newark at the moment? Because potentially, according to the forecast, it was supposed to get a little bit breezy. Currently, we have. So the last weather was taken at 13:51 UTC, so an hour ago. Wind was 240 at 11 knots, 10 miles, scattered at 10,000 feet, 2 degrees.
Swift Flight 3604, contact Boston approach on 124.4.
Right,
124.4 for Swift Flight 3604.
just having a look here, so let's have a look. Pneumatics. See if we can find out about the water for you.
Boston Center on 127.6.
Oh, contact Boston Center.
127.65 for night flight 1.
Trying to look on a better diagram to give you a better answer here. So I've got to be completely honest, we didn't go into much detail about the water tank on a on the 737 when I did my training, because there's not much need to. That's definitely more of an engineer's side of it as opposed to the pilot side of it. Let's have a look. Water pressure, water tank. Let's have a look. Yeah, looking through all my notes and stuff here, the only thing really was just that the water tank is supplied by pressurised air from the bleed air. That's literally the most it'll go into, to be honest. It's not something as a pilot you need to be particularly concerned about. It's definitely more of an engineer's thing. That, which I don't. You won't get given access to the engineering manuals. You'll get the Boeing technical manual. But you never get given anything more than that. You have the electrical shedding of the electrical valves. You can shed components to save power. Does that exist for bleed air and hydraulics? Yeah, to a point. So, for instance, with the bleed air, you can turn the pack off if you've got low pressure. Like I said, when you start the engine, for instance, you'll turn the pack off. Oh, I haven't contacted them.
Boston Center night flight 18,000 feet.
Which will reduce the outgoing. Depends where the leak is as well, obviously. If you've got low pressure, it's usually because you've got a leak. 3001. That pressure's increasing as we go further south. When on final, can you talk us through the round out flare landing, what your aim points? Yeah, sure, no problem. I'll happily go through that. Right, where are we currently? Let's have a look. Perhaps if I get the right page up. Ah, we're over Springfield. What do you typically use for aim points? I know you shouldn't. I tend to use the numbers. You shouldn't use the numbers, it's a bad habit to get into. But I do use the numbers. As far as engineers, do you call dispatch and ask to speak to maintenance or engineer during flights ever? Can you request to talk to maintenance or engineers? Is it all done through dispatch in flight? So, the way we do it is, obviously, on the ground, you have a dispatcher, who's the guy basically who comes, gives you paperwork, like your mass and balance stuff, tells you how many passengers are on board, deals with getting the plane out, basically. If we have an issue on the ground, we'll ask him, can you go get an engineer? I'm quite lucky, the company I work for have their own engineers, they don't outsource, and my old company, a lot of airports didn't have their own engineers, so they'd use a different company. My one does, so they're there pretty quick, to be honest. In the air, should you have an issue, obviously you've got your paperwork and everything to go through yourself. If it was somewhat quite, what's the word, like quite dangerous or whatever, something that you would need an engineer for, but desperately, we can use HF radio or even SATCOM now. Actually, we've just got sat phones on board, but I have to be honest, I haven't used them because they were put in this year and I haven't because of COVID and everything, haven't actually flown, particularly this year. So the way I've always done it in the past is we use HF radio, and in Europe you'll speak to what's called Stockholm radio, and basically they can patch you through. So they'll phone your company for you. They've got the number, and then they'll patch you through using the HF radio. You can speak to them like that. And are you staffed 24/7? Yes, we are. Again, not every airline. Some airlines aren't, especially the smaller ones. You know, these little airlines, not all of them are staffed 24/7, and there's been quite issues in the past where something's gone wrong and there's been no one to speak to. That's why a lot of them obviously use third-party companies now. Both. Can you talk to? Yeah, you can talk to whoever you want. Stockholm Radio will basically just put you in touch. They'll just make a phone call to your company, and your company then will put you through to whoever you need to speak to. Because you can, like for instance, I had it in the past. Was it this year? Start of this year when they had. I was flying down to the Canaries in Europe, and they had quite severe sandstorms down there, and we needed to find out. Basically, what we had decided, we'd sort of come to a decision ourselves whether that we were going to continue. We were happy that it was safe enough, but we thought, you know what, cover your own arse, contact operations, and just let them know and see what they want you to do. And that's what it was. You contact Stockholm Radio over HF. They put us through to the company. Company put us through to the operations department, and then we say, any chance? What's your opinion on this? Just so, if for whatever reason the sandstorm was worse than what we thought, and we got there, and we picked up a bit of damage in the engine from the sand or whatever, we've covered ourselves. We can say, well, hang on a minute, we spoke to operations. They were happy for us to land here. What does the inside of the windscreen taste like? The inside of my Audi screen tastes like lemon cleaner I used. Alcohol, like alcohol cleaner. I don't know. I'm guessing. I honestly don't know. I can't say I've ever tasted the inside. HF radio is used for ocean reporting. HF is used for a lot of things. So obviously it is used for ocean reporting, but obviously it's also used to contact Stockholm Radio, because obviously Stockholm Radio is based in Sweden, Stockholm. So you have to be able to get to them, and HF does a much longer distance. When would engineer say call maintenance, or maintenance say call engineer? They're basically the same thing. As far as we're concerned, maintenance and engineering are the same thing. So our engineers are every night, once the aircraft's finished its flights for the day, the engineers will do maintenance on the aircraft, so therefore they're a maintenance crew. But obviously if we've got any issues as well, we'll contact them and say, can you fix this? Yeah, Satcom. Satcom is literally satellite phone. It's literally a phone, a phone like any other phone, but it's done through satellites rather than radio masts. And it's much better quality, because HF is awful. Like trying to speak to someone on HF, it's very difficult to understand them. It's very, very low quality. Satcom is just like speaking to them on the phone. It's lovely. Do you have games on a Satcom? No, because we get told off if we use it, and we shouldn't have. Yeah, it costs a lot of money to use a Satcom. Or Candy Crush. Not that kind of phone. The phone built into the system. I'm speaking to them from my headphones. My headset. Disappointing. I mean, I've got an iPad. I mean, no, I didn't say that. I don't play games. Let's pretend that never happened. No one make a clip of that, please. CPDLC is SATCOM. Not quite, no. CPDLC is slightly different. CPDLC isn't necessarily over SATCOM. CPDLC can be done over VHF. But there's a lot to it. So you've got there's a lot of different areas there. You've got CPDLC, you've got SATCOM, you've got ACARS. They are all individually different things. So we've had CPDLC for a while. We've just got SATCOM now. We haven't yet got full ACARS. The ACARS kind of works, but we're not supposed to use it. So CPDLC will be used for clearances, things like that. You know, ATC might send us a clearance to climb to this flight level over CPDLC. That'll come up as a text message essentially on our system, whereas ACARS then is used for transmitting data to the ground. So like sort of things such as like even weather. Actually, we can get weather through ACARS. Yeah, CPDLC ATC text, but it can be done through VHF. In fact, I'm sure ours is done through VHF. How many frequencies have you used? I dread to think. There is UHF. UHF is military. UHF's used by the military. So HF is UHF. So basically, HF is lower frequency, does a much greater area, worse quality. Oh, contact Boston Centre. VHF is your standard over the radio, but obviously it's blocked by things such as hills and things like that. UHF is your ultra high frequency, and that tends to be used only by the military. I'm sure there's a lot more. I believe, and Crip in a Box, I'm sure will. I was about to say. I think Crip in a Box will correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, it's UHF is used for like military emergency services. I'm pretty sure UHF are mobile phones UHF or VHF. Crip in a Box. That's something that sounds like something you might know. HF is terrible quality, only because of the distance it's doing. HF radio is the same radios they would have used back in the bloody war, you know. It's not great, but it reaches over oceans, which is what's needed. VHF is line of sight. Yeah. Mobile phones use you. I thought it was the case. I'm sure I remember off the top of my head. I believe I'm right in saying as well. So basically, the higher the frequency, so whether it's HF, VHF, UHF, the higher the frequency tends to be the slightly better quality. However, it's much shorter range. Yes, a VOR are VHF. They're a VHF omnidirectional radio. That's what VOR is. Where are we at the moment? So we've gone over Hertford. And Solar Rocket, I believe we were right, because there's more English names. We've got Salisbury over there somewhere. We've got Cornwall over there. Colchester. So we've gone over Hertford and we're heading towards Waterbury. So as I said earlier, it's quite interesting to see how it builds up over time. Like we had all just country for like open space for miles. Then we got into sort of suburbs and there's a couple of little towns around, and now as you can see it's just built up and built up and built up, and now it's just for miles it's just cities. Oh, we have another rocket. Your sim ground real textures are off. Data, Bing World data. Ah! Thank you, Rocket Specialist. Let's have a look. So what are we going to? We're going to General Settings. Data tab. World ground. Oh, they are. When the fuck did that happen? You know what? I was sat wondering why everything looks a bit shit. That's why. Thank you for pointing that out. It never used to be like that. That's randomly turned itself off. It randomly turns off. Yeah, I was sat thinking like, doesn't look as good as it used to. Nowadays you can't make calls on phone lines. Well, no, but you shouldn't have your phone on anyway on board. Well, there we go. That is instantly much better quality, isn't it? Look, we can see. We can actually see it loading in now. Thank you very much, Rocket Specialist, for pointing that out, because I've been sat wondering for ages why that was doing that. Why does high frequency reduce range? HS is low frequency but high range but low quality. I was taught this, I'm not gonna lie. It's to do with the way it as far as I remember, it's the way it's to do with the energy stored in it. Yeah, you answered that. You're gonna have to restart your flight in the UK for high detail now. Well, like I said, we will do a tour of the. I think we did it on the poll earlier. The winner was both learning to fly the CJ4 and a tour of the UK coastline. So I think we're gonna do a bit of both. You're not happy with that, Solar Rocket? That's just it. I think the next FS update will be a yeah, I've seen that. Apparently, the next one will be a UK one. If it is, that'll be brilliant. That'll look really good. We should be able to do a much. In fact, if we do the UK coastline flight, it should look really good. I'm really annoyed that I didn't spot that was off. Honestly, for weeks, I've been sat here going, this don't look right. This don't look right. I'm not happy with this, and now we know. Look at it. It's beautiful now. It actually looks like we're flying over land. Doesn't look like Flight Sim X anymore. You should do the NC500 in a plane. That's an idea. That is an idea, actually. That'd be quite a cool one. Just follow that route. I want to do that for real, to be honest. Like, obviously we haven't been able to, have we, this last year, but you are full of good ideas, Solar Rocket. Well done. Hand flight. All right. I was expecting do a barrel roll, to be honest. So I'm okay with hand fly. Right. Let's get this going. So autopilot disconnects. Let's see how it's done with the trim. The trim's not too far off, actually. Can't afford it. Well, that's why I set it so high. Otherwise, I'd be doing it every 30 seconds. Fucking hell. You notice the bumps as soon as you As soon as you take that off, fucking hell. It is a bumpy day up here. The autopilot wasn't doing too bad a job, to be honest, at holding the level during the turbulence. Oh god, come on, level out, nice, gentle. Back on track a little bit. You've got a little bit off track. Let's just go a few degrees. Come on. So this is what's needed on flight controls, is force feedback. So you can actually feel when, like, you can feel like the resistance of the wind against the controls, because this is the issue with flight controls. If anyone's out there who makes flight controls and looking specifically at UCRIP in a box, that's what you need to design. Quite nice actually, it's been a long time since I've done hand flying. I'm quite enjoying this. So I can't really read the chat particularly. It's kind of hard to read the chat on hand, but if I look at the chat for like a few seconds, especially if it's a bit bumpy, it goes a bit nuts. At least we have the real weather this time, because that fucked up last time, didn't it? We didn't have live weather. Okay, there's a big bump there. Come on. Oh, fuck you now. Calm down a bit. Look at my fancy text. Do a barrel roll. I ain't falling for that. Fell for that on Kieran's stream the other day. Merwaz, hello. Thank you for the follow. How are you doing today? rather choppy. I suppose really I should actually put the aux tanks on. I'm just going to put the autopilot back on, only because through my own fault I haven't been keeping an eye on the fuel. And even though we've got plenty left, it's below the 15 gallons, so what we can do is just turn the aux pumps on. We just make sure they come on here, check for any messages, which there isn't any. Lovely. And now we just sit and we leave it to refill the main tank. ILS use VHF, yes. I tried to fly to the USA when Microsoft Flight Simulator came out, got to Greenland and I gave up on it, flew from Sweden. Fair enough, no, fair play. It's been an interesting flight actually. It's been quite enjoyable. It does modulate between the two, yes. It depends. So I believe one of them gives you your higher lobe, one of them gives you the lower lobe. And the idea is you stay in the middle. That's how it can judge whether you're too high or too low. But obviously you also get the way it... I can't remember what the word is, but the way it sort of comes off that if you come in too high, it can show you on track even though you're not, which is why you always come into an ILS from below. Max out that RTX 2080. It's a 2080 Ti, actually, Solar Rocket, I'll have you know. Do you have your Sky Taxi costume on? No, I don't have my Sky Taxi costume on. You're going to ask that every time, aren't you? It was pesto. Oh, fair enough, fair enough. It was pesto last time. Like I said, I've got to be careful because I'm worried about my power supply. I think it's on its way out, seeing as I wasn't actually able to turn my PC on this morning. I've got to be careful maxing stuff out, it might draw too much power. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I tried to take it apart and click to fix it, and it just randomly started working again, so... yeah. Not sure. I'm running a 3070 and 3600 on 550 watt. Whew. I believe I got 850. God, you got to be pushing it close, surely, with a 3070 and 3600 on 550. It's not I'm worried about maxing out, it's if it's on its way out, I don't want it to just suddenly go dink and conk out. I don't know what, like I said, I have no idea why it wouldn't start this morning. It literally, pressing the button, did nothing. The little light on the motherboard sort of flash on and go off. It wasn't like an error code flashing on and off, it was just almost like it didn't have power. It could be, yeah, it could be a lot of things. I say, I don't know, because it's working absolutely perfectly now. I tried changing the cable, didn't work. I literally unplugged everything, took it into the kitchen. I thought, if I'm going to work on it, I don't want to work on it on carpet in the office. I mean, it's sat on the desk, but I'm stood on carpet. So I took it into the kitchen, and I thought, I'll plug it in here, see if it works. Plugged it in, pressed the button, it turned on instantly. I've plugged everything back in, it's exactly the same as it was, works perfectly. They reckon 65 is recommended, but the 3600 uses about 65 watt and the GPU is sub 300. Oh yeah, so you should be fine. Up the volt on the CPU a tiny bit, stop being done. I hardly ever turn my PC off. Like I said, I mean, it could have been anything, to be honest. it could have literally been modulation. That's the word I was looking for. It could have literally been. I have my iPad plugged into it to control the stream and stuff like that. I use it as a stream deck, and it's plugged into the USB-C on the back. And my partner came in yesterday, and she unplugged my iPad and plugged the Apple TV remote in to charge it. Why she did that rather than just using the normal Apple charger, I don't know, but she did. And it could have just been something as simple as that, had just thrown an error. Who knows? I can't get over how nice this looks now we've actually turned the fucking data on. Actual imagery. I can't believe I've been going around for... I definitely had it on when I first got the game. It's got to have been probably since the US update. It's knocked off the aerial imagery. Now you can see it bouncing around from this view, can't you? Jeez. Well, we're getting close. We're coming up to sort of like the north part, like the top of. I don't know New York enough. This is the issue. Sort of Stamford. I know Stamford. I've heard of Stamford. So the start of where the city really begins to build up. As we head down into actual like New York City and places like that. So Newark might actually be quite a nice one because we should pass down the right hand side of like Manhattan and that, so we should get some nice views. Whether my PC can handle it loading everything in once it gets there, we'll see, but check what RAM usage you get up to. Oh god, yeah, I didn't even think of that. What are we up to at the moment, Average? Oh my god. So I've got 16 gig of RAM and we're at 80%. Actually, 80% is not too bad at the moment. Alright, 65% CPU, 80% memory, 40% GPU. Most of the GPU obviously been done by OBS for encoding the stream. It looks alright, don't it? Didn't crash at 100% usage. It's a bit of a weird one. For me, like you can see here, like the FPS isn't great. Despite the fact nothing's at like 100%, but I remember reading ages ago about a bug where it's the whole limited by main thread, and if I do bring up the FPS in game, I get the limited by main thread, despite the fact my main thread isn't at 100%, like, and none of the CPU threads are at 100%. So I think it's a weird bug where it thinks it's maxed out the CPU and it hasn't. I mean, it runs alright, it's not like it's running bad. game like this, it's not like you need 140 FPS, is it really? 40 CPU. Yeah, I think it's a weird thing with the way the game loads it in. I think there is just a bit of a bug that they haven't quite fixed yet. So as I said before, guys, well, if you enjoy the stream, you know, feel free to follow. If you want, you can feel free to join our Discord channel as well that we've got going. There's a group of us. We're always streaming. It's the Firing Blanks public channel. It's you should be able to just join it from the about me bit at the below the video there, or in the panels at the bottom. Got some good streamers actually in the group. We've got Solo Rocket, we've got Pesto Hardinio, Crip in a Box. Does some quite techie, nerdy stuff sometimes, quite good. I think he's doing some Kerbal Space Program later on. We've got Gaming with Cookies, we've got RJ Parkey. Yeah. Feel free to give them all a follow, join the Discord. I think we're looking at maybe doing some, I think we said about potentially doing a public Minecraft for all you guys. You'll also be alerted every time we're streaming as well. And you feel free to join in on the stream as well. Join in with the flight. Where are we? This is starting to look a little bit more like New York now, isn't it? Let's see if we can pick up the weather for Newark now. Let's see if I start actually doing some work. I stopped because the field I landed in. When I flew to Greenland, I stopped because the field I landed at did not have fuel for me, so I gave up there. Where did we stop? It was Narswak? I can't remember how you pronounce it. But yeah, for some reason that wasn't even included in the game, so I had to actually download that one and add it as a mod. So the ATIS 115.7. Let's go in here. Sorry, not 115. 134825 even. We won't get one. 115 is on the KEWR, isn't it? So let's go. Com2 134.825. Switch that around. Let's put Com2 active.
Newark Airport information. Corvette 15000.
294 at 17. It's not too bad. It's a little bit off, but
Visibility 10. Sky conditions. Few clouds at 1,200 feet. Few clouds at 4,700 feet. Few clouds at 11,300 feet. Temperature
3 degrees.
10. Altimeter 0.03.
3003. Let's turn up to 3003.
ILS runway 22 right in use. Landing and departing runway 22 left and runway 22 right.
So 22 left, 22 right.
Aircraft, redirection of flight.
Oh, so what's that? It's
All
pretty
aircraft
much
feedback
going to
will
be
instructions. Advise controller on initial contact. You
straight
are
across. 17 knots straight across. So it's going to be, yeah, interesting. Let's have a look. I'm missing the light in the chat here. The chat's going a bit nuts. DA62 has a fair range longer than the G36, doesn't it? So maybe have more options. Yeah, to be fair, it's not a bad range actually on this. We could have done Goose Bay straight to Newark and been alright.
New York approach night flight 18,000 feet.
Night flight 1 New York approach continue.
Continuous approach. Continuous land, right.
Altimeter 30.03. Night flight 1 you are 22 miles northeast. Descend and maintain 3,000 feet. Expect ILS runway 22 right approach via its transition.
Right, 3,000 feet.
Clear to ends.
Let's go. Via Agnes transition cleared to Agnes. Right, so we're going to go Select approach.
Night flight 1.
ILS 22 right. Via Agnes. And we're going to activate.
United 580, you are 16 miles northwest. Descend and maintain.
Where the fuck's Agnes then?
4,800 feet. Expect ILS runway 22 right approach via ANS transition. Clear to ANS.
Oh, it looks like... Has it happened again? I believe it's happened again. The fucking screens have dropped out, haven't they? No problem. Let's just go heading select. We're looking 3,000 feet. It's done it again, guys. I can't fucking believe it's done it again. Fucking screens. Look, my instruments are just completely locked out. And annoyingly, it's other than restarting the flight, there's no way of doing it. Are we able to just do a visual approach? Visual runway 22 right.
Night flight 1 would like visual runway 22 right approach.
Night flight 1, you are 20 miles northeast. Descend and maintain 2,000 feet. Expect vectors visual runway 22 right approach. Night flight 1, descend and maintain 2,000 feet.
So to maintain 2,000 feet, which is what we're doing.
2,000 feet. Expect vectors visual runway 22 right approach. Night flight 1.
At least we still got this one. I'm not going to touch this one, because I touched it last time and it fucked both of them up. So what's our heading at the moment? We're still going 2-4. Yeah, it matches up with that. Looks like we're going in blind. It does. Am I able... Does those work? No, I was hoping those might still work. I might still at least be able to get a... get Summit up. I really want to say it, but I'm not going to. Just want to go... Well, we're landing in the Hudson. We're not landing in the Hudson. Let's not go as far as say we're landing in the Hudson, because we're not. Right. 2-2 right. If we head... We're heading 2-2 now, pretty much. So it should be... We should be paralleled with it. We need to turn a few degrees to the right. You'll find someone a picture up before your shoes are wet. Right, where the fuck's the airport? Oh god, this is yeah. Last time was all right because it was fucking Bangor Airport. It was middle of fucking nowhere. I'm not even worried about trying to get on the right runway, let alone like it's trying to land at the right fucking airport at the moment. Well, there's you know Manhattan, New York City. It's very nice, isn't it? Very lovely. And where's the fucking airport gone? I don't want to zoom in on the fucking... on the MFD, because... Yeah. Right, we're just coming up now to 2,000 feet.
United 580, descend and maintain 2,500 feet. Night flight 1 traffic is 2 o'clock, 4 miles at 3,000 feet generic. Report them in sight.
Fucking hell, man, I ain't got time for that. Yeah, sure, he's there. Right, let's tell him we haven't got him. Tell him I ain't got fucking time, mate.
500 feet, United 580.
United 580 traffic is 8 o'clock, 3 miles at 2,100 feet, diamond to 62.
Right, autopilot's off. I know it says it's on. It is off. Look, see. Whoop, whoop.
11 o'clock, 11 miles. Maintain present heading and altitude. Report
Right, look for the runway. 11 o'clock.
Contact Newark Tower on 13.4.05 when inbound.
Can someone point out the fucking runway for me, please? Huh? Where the fuck's it gone?
Tower on 13.4.05 United 580.
Maintain present heading at altitude night flight 1.
Go round. I will go round if we can't make it, but I'm determined to make it. Right, we're going, like, we should be lined up with the fucking runway. It's over there somewhere.
Night flight 1 don't have the runway.
Night flight 1 airport is at your 12 o'clock 9 miles. Turn left heading 215 report.
215, right, okay. Oh, descended a little bit there as well.
Turn left heading 215 night flight 1.
Gonna keep getting vectors from him.
Night flight 1 airport is at your 1 o'clock 8 miles. Turn left heading 215 report runway in sight.
Turn left heading 215 night flight 1.
Is it? Hey, hang on. Is that it over there? Fucking hell, that's it. Right, we've got it. Which makes sense. It lines up with that. Oh, I've fucking climbed here. I wasn't watching. Right.
Night flight 1 runway in sight.
Night flight 1, you are 6 miles northeast of Newark. Turn left heading 250. Contact Newark Tower on 134.05.
Turn left heading 250.
Okay, landing light on.
Tower on 134.05
Fuel pumps on.
night flight 1.
Oh, let's get the tower. We are really high.
Newark Tower night flight 16 miles northeast inbound visual runway 22 right approach.
United 580 exit runway when able. Night flight 1 Newark Tower. Cleared visual runway 22 right approach. Altimeter tree 0.08 wing 284 at tree 4. Night flight 1 cleared to land runway 22 right. Follow the generic on the runway. Wing 284.
Okay, so they start at the same point. It's not like they're offset or anything. That's
Newark
good.
Tower, United 278 ready to go runway 22 right IFR to Miami. United 278 hold short runway 22 right. Traffic is generic on the runway. United 580 exit runway when able.
Cleared to land runway 22 right night flight 1.
Okay, let's get the landing gear down. This is going to be the dodgiest fucking flight. I mean, I hope, I hope I'm going to fucking make it on the right runway. One stage of flaps. Right, the runway's over there somewhere. I'm cutting across. I'm doing what I really shouldn't do and cutting across a fucking runway. There we go. We can see 22 right. We're really high. That's fine. We can get down. I ain't worried about that. Jesus Christ. I did promise I'll tell you where I'm going. So at the moment I'm aiming. If you see the touchdown markers, just where my finger's there, that's where I'm aiming for at the moment. I am very high though. We can see that from the pappies. It's not an issue. I mean, it's a long enough runway. In this little aircraft, it doesn't really matter. And in this situation, you know what? Fuck it. Okay, let's go full flaps. This is going to make us sink quite quickly. I'm watching a little fucking tiny little standby instrument there. Not only that, I should point out, we've got a 17 knot crosswind that I'm trying to deal with as well at the same time.
Newark Tower, JetBlue, 289 miles northeast, inbound ILS runway, 22 left approach.
JetBlue 28 Newark Tower. Cleared ILS runway 22 left approach. Altimeter tree 0.08, wind 284 at tree 4.
There we go.
Cleared ILS runway, 22 left approach, JetBlue, 28.
Fucking look at that crosswind. Okay, cutting the power. Left rudder, right aileron. A little bit of a flare. Oh god. Oh fuck. Oh god. That almost went terribly wrong. I've got no rudder. I've got no rudder. Absolutely no rudder whatsoever. I've got full left rudder and nothing's happening. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I had absolutely no rudder. At least we're down. We hit the grass a little bit. Let's ignore everything that happened there.
Cleared for takeoff runway 22 right, United 278.
You're not fucking cleared to take off. I'm still on the runway. Fuck off. Well, that was interesting. It wasn't even this. We got a 17 knot crosswind.
Runway 22 left. Wind 284 at tree 4.
No rudder. No instruments. No idea where the fucking runway was.
22 left, JetBlue, 28.
Fucking hell. That was very interesting. You're right, it was. Right. Oh god, I think my fucking nose wheel collapsed. It was a nice touchdown initially. That was the annoying thing. It started off quite well. And then just went to shit. Right. Yeah, contact ground. Taxi, just take me to the parking.
Flight 1 taxi to parking.
Night flight 1 taxi to general aviation parking using taxiway Golf Alpha Sierra cross runway 29er Sierra Zulu 4 Zulu tree.
Taxiing to general aviation parking via taxiway Golf Alpha Sierra cross runway 29er Sierra
Right.
Zulu 4 Zulu.
Let me get me...
Night flight 1.
Fucking hell. Shaking now. Let's get the pitot heat off.
Newark ground, United 213, 8 ISR, telemetry is ready.
Get the flaps up.
United 213.
It doesn't help it's laggy as fuck as well. Like, yeah, I'm getting like 15 frames a second. Like, yeah, this is horrendous.
128.55 squawk 0716.
Fuel pumps are off. Landing light can go off.
Night flight 1 hold position caution other traffic.
Oh, I'm holding position.
Night flight 1 continue taxi.
Oh, there's the other traffic. He went through me. That was nice.
United 254 with Quebec ready to taxi IFR. United 254 taxi to an hold short of runway 22 right using taxiway Romeo Foxtrot Alpha Sierra Lima Romeo.
Need to reboot the nav
runway
system.
29 Romeo.
Annoyingly,
Contact tower on 1
I've tried it before. We tried rebooting everything. The only way you can get it to work again is rebooting the entire,
Roger, night flight.
like the entire flight.
Taxi to and hold short runway 22 right via taxiway Romeo Foxtrot Alpha Sierra Lima Romeo cross runway 29er Romeo.
Oh,
United
we're somewhat relaxed now though. We're down. We've done it. We've made it to New York.
250 continue.
We took a DA62 from the UK to New York
JetBlue
and
1307
crashed it at the end. We'll ignore that bit. Ignore the crash.
United 254 hold position.
I mean, it didn't recognise it as a crash, which is always a good sign. The props didn't touch the ground.
254 continue taxi.
Probably, admittedly, would get an engineer to just have a quick look over it before we flew it again. Well, you want an engineer to look over it anyway. Go, why the fuck does my screen keep stopping? It never used to do that. I don't know why it suddenly started doing it. It's done it this flight. It did it last flight as well. Oh, God. Fucking heart rate's going here. I need to, like, chill and just relax now after that flight.
306 hold position, caution other traffic.
Newark ground jet blue 2E taxi to the gate.
In the USA, maintenance aren't engineers. Oh, okay. I'm just obviously used to over here. Engineer and maintenance, same thing, you know. Yeah, okay, I need someone then, maintenance, anyone, just to look at it and go, yep, no, that's fucked. It's just a bit crooked, it's fine. I mean, it's not really taxiing straight, but you know what, it's small issues. We were cleared to cross that runway as well, I should point that one out. I did notice we were crossing a runway, I was too busy. Still trying to work out what the fuck happened. I really want to know what the fuck happened. Because it landed absolutely fine. Like, I was quite... For a second, for an absolute split second, I thought, you know what, I've pulled this off. Oh my god, what is going on with the fucking steering? The rudder, I don't know what... It's the steering, the nose wheel. I think we've got rudder, actually. I think it's the steering we haven't got. Something didn't go right with that nose wheel, because it was almost like the nose wheel had collapsed when we touched down. We had 3 greens. I checked the lights on the way in. And the nose steering now. I know Tommy made an update to this mod. He was telling us, like he told me on the last stream, because I forgot to download it for the last stream. And he's done something to make it taxi a bit more realistically. But I noticed when I twist my rudder on my joystick to the max, it stops responding. I think that what must have been what happened, because we needed full rudder. I needed full rudder to be able to get it straight in that crosswinds, because we're getting close to the limit of the aircraft there. And yeah, it wasn't happy about it, that's for sure. But he's made an update to this taxi, and I don't. You can see then, when I come to a sharp corner, I give it a bit of rudder, and it's nothing, and overshot. It's almost like it's on ice now. It's better in the sense that now it requires much less power. It did it again, look. See, we didn't actually go out. There wasn't really. There was a tiny little bump there in the. Look, and again. Where there's a tiny. I'm not touching the brakes yet. There's a tiny little bump in the tarmac, and the nose is just dropping. That might be something I need to send him and just say, can you fix this? Because yeah, it's not ideal, really, is it? Every time you go over a bump in the ground, it just fucking the nose smacks the floor. Right, where's me man? What did we say his name was last? I can't remember what we called him last week. Oh god. Right, let's get this parked. Nice and straight. Yeah, I don't like the taxi. With this new update, can you go over the runway markings like their dimensions? You want about like the touchdown zone? Can you go past the touchdown zone? Because you can, like, with the touchdown zone that's there, that they recommend, obviously, which is like the recommended landing place. Obviously, yes, you want to aim for there every single time. You can go over. Obviously, it depends what you're flying. Something like this, I know I can go well past the touchdown markings and land. I can land halfway down the runway and I'm going to stop, really. Something like a 737, not so much. If I floated a bit and I've missed the markings, you know, it's sort of like they're thinking, we might not make this. Right, let's get this shut down. Where's me? Oh, where's me checklist? Right, parking brake is on. Power levers, max 10% for 1 minute. I've started the timer when we stopped anyway, so we'll call it a minute from there. In case we went over 10%, I wasn't really checking how much power we were using. The ELT, surprisingly, is not activated. Therefore, we didn't crash. The ELT is not activated, it wasn't a crash. Engine system page. Check total time. Total time is... I've lost it. Where am I looking? 37.5. Avionic master. Off. Electrical consumers except strobe. Off. Engine masters. That's been a minute there, so we can turn those off one at a time. Left engine's out. Should come up with red crosses there, but it doesn't on this. Stop that. Stop that. We'll get rid of that. Come on, piss off.
Departure frequency is 132 decimals.
I turn the master off. And relax. It's done. It's done. We can chill. We've made it. We've took it from Gloucester to New York. Now we've just got the nice, relaxing bit of jazz music. Oh, let's have a look. What we got in the chat going on? Can you go to the run markers? Like distance markings. I know Cat's bar mark 1,000. Like how much does each centre stripe take a distance? But 200 feet is each centre line strip. Off the top of my head, I think that's about right. That sounds familiar. But yeah, like I said, you can go over them. It depends on the aircraft, to be honest. Like I said, if you're flying a little DA62 like this, you can land halfway down the runway and you know you're going to be fine. In a jet, if you've gone past the touchdown zone, just go around. No one's ever going to have a go at you for going around. I say that, probably should have gone around then, but we didn't. But we're done. We're here. We're finished. And that's it. Like, we've actually done it. So I think my next flight sim stream, I think we agreed. I think we did the poll earlier. Was going to be learning to fly the CJ4, and potentially doing a nice tour of the coastline of Britain. People seem to like that. Should be some nice sights. I hope you all enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I hope you found that approach in that landing interesting. That's what a sort of, in reality, given that, you'd be calling pan down the radio. I wouldn't go as far as say that's potentially a mayday. But again, it depends on the situation. It's a busy airspace, New York. So losing all your instruments like that, yeah, actually, you know what? That potentially could be a mayday. Difference between a pan and a mayday is if you've called a pan and someone else calls a mayday, they're getting priority over you. There's no sort of hard and fast rules at what's a cautionary landing, what's an emergency. That I would personally class as an emergency. Reckon you would have broken the plane with the landing. I don't know. The nose dropped, which I'm not sure why it did that. It shouldn't have dropped because it was on the ground. It's, you know, if it was a tail dragger or something, I could understand. There is absolutely no reason that the nose should have dropped on this. It wasn't even particularly hard landing. Like, the actual main touchdown was all right. I'll have to try and bring up. Hang on, what was my? So the landing was at. So we touched down at 61 feet per minute. Anything under 200 is an alright landing. It did bounce a bit side to side, but the actual touchdown, it's not like we touched down particularly hard. So the nose dropped, and it did it again as we were taxiing in a couple of times. Not as bad, but I think it's where it picks up in the data, there should be like a little bit of a bump in the runway or something. I think it overcorrects. The side-side bounce was more down to the lack of rudder, I think. I'm trying to get it straight to do the to touch down in the crosswind. I gave it full left rudder to bring it straight, and a bit of right aileron to keep the wheel straight. I don't think we were dead straight though, so I think what happened was it was my pressure. I'll take the blame. No, it's fine. Like it clearly wasn't, clearly wasn't the best landing. It's good to actually go over it and talk about what happened. The left wheel touched down first, no doubt about that. Then the right wheel. Not bad. It wasn't like there was we didn't have a wing strike or anything like that. We haven't hit the props. We touched down at 61 feet per minute, which is a very, very, actually quite a smooth touchdown. I'm actually quite impressed with that. 61 feet a minute. The nose, for whatever reason, dropped. I don't think it dropped to the point that the props touched the ground. Especially as the sim didn't pick up a crash as such, which I would have thought if the props had touched the ground at all, it would have picked up. Out of interest, let's have a look at the outside of the aircraft. Can we see what's going on with the nose wheel? Oh, actually, hang on a minute. Those rear wheels, if you look, the rear tyres are actually clipped into the ground a little bit. Let's have a look. What are you saying? Why didn't you flare as much? We didn't need to flare. So in your sort of GA aircraft, you don't need to particularly flare. As long as you keep that front wheel off the ground, which it was, you're arresting the rate of descent rather than actually flaring as such. So there was a flare there. You're just trying to keep the nose wheel off the ground for, like, you're not trying to keep off. Once you're on the ground, you want to get it down. You want to fly it onto the ground. All you want is just to bring it up enough that the main wheels touch down first, which is what happened. Were you crabbing? No, we weren't crabbing. We were high, but not ridiculously high. By giving it full flaps, this thing does drop like a rock. You're under arrest for your rate of descent. So yeah, with this, you go full flaps, it drops like a rock anyway. There was no need to side slip. We were obviously crabbing coming down. That was down to the fact we had a 17 knot crosswind, which was obviously pushing us out. What I did is, at around maybe 30 feet above the ground, we're crabbing to the right. I apply left rudder to straighten it up. Obviously, with the wind, that's going to push the left wing down and the right wing up. So as you're applying left rudder to straighten up, you also want a bit of right aileron to level it out straight. So you are almost doing a slip as you touch down, basically. So that's basically the only sort of side slip that was in there, is as you're touching down, you just straighten up and add in a little bit of right aileron just to keep you level, basically. We didn't need to side slip though. There was no need to side slip there. If we were ridiculously high, then potentially. But honestly, if you're in a position where you're needing to side slip to be able to reach the runway because you're too high, just go around. Don't try and bring it back. Side slip's there for a reason, but if you're doing it to lose height, pod strike. Just saying, Tommy, I don't know what's going on, mate. Yeah, the nose seems to be, as you're taxiing along, the nose is every dropping into the ground. It seems like you're getting a very distinct nose drop. So you line up the nose. You line up first with nose. Line up the nose with the rudder, then right aileron. Yeah, so right crosswind, you want left rudder, right aileron. Again, it depends as well. So the way Boeing teach it in a 737 is, if it's a dry runway, you want to straighten up before you touch down. If it's a wet runway, you land in the crab and straighten up once you're on the ground. With the mod, yeah, it's I can't quite work out what it was. I assumed it was my landing, to be fair, which it could well have been initially. So we obviously touched down in the crosswind, and it was absolutely fine. And then I was giving it full left rudder. We're at Newark. It could be the airport, could have been a lot of things. It didn't seem to do it when we took off out of Bangor. But I was giving it full left rudder, and we were just going straight. We actually went off the side of the runway. But yeah, so we had absolutely no steering. The steering came back but for some reason the nose just dropped into the ground, which I assumed was to do with the landing. We weren't even particularly touching the brakes, so it kind of been that. But as we were taxiing in, every now and then you'd hit like a little bump, and the nose would drop again. Could be the airport. It could well be. I think it probably is the airport, actually, thinking about it, because it didn't do it in Bangor. I'll have to try it again later off stream. Land with the crab in the wet. Is that dangerous? Oh, see you later, Tommy. Have a great day. I'm loving the mod still. No, so the idea is, if I remember rightly, the actual reasoning for it is, in the dry, there's the risk that the tyres would get traction quick enough that you could go off the centre line as you land, if you're landing in the crab. Whereas in the wet, you'll be fine. It's unlikely they're going to have enough traction to throw you off the centre line, so you've got enough just to then use the rudder just to spin you round straight once you've touched down. Hey, Group in a Box is back. Oh, but yeah. There we go. I think it was probably the issue with the airport. It could have been an issue with me. Either way, 61 feet per minute. I'm impressed with that. With shitty controls, 15 frames a second, and broken instruments. The touchdown zone markings. Let's have a look. What would you call them in America? 1,000-foot marks. I'm trying to think because obviously, yeah, they're slightly different in America, aren't they? Yes, they would be the 1,000-foot marks. So your aiming points, the 1,000-foot marks. Yeah, you aim for those. Aim for those. 50 feet. Look at the very end of the runway. I say, yeah, it's Americans a bit different. It's yeah, the way you have your, so yeah, it's 1,000 feet, isn't it, in America? Whereas in Europe it is slightly different, actually. So in Europe, I believe it's 400 meters. Yeah, that would be about right. Yeah, assuming you got it perfect. But that is roughly correct. Yeah, your 1,000-foot markers, those are just your aiming markers. That's just what you're aiming for. As long as they touch down within that first 500-foot marker and the last touchdown marker, you'll be fine though. In 737, aiming for 1,000 foot, yeah, and your wheels land 500 feet, touchdown, but you could be over the aiming point. What would be the 500-foot mark? So 500-foot marker is the first of the touchdown mark. So the so your 500-foot markers, those are going to be the start of the touchdown zone, aren't they? They would be, you'd be touching down just after the 500 feet mark. Yeah, between 500 and 1,000 is where you're aiming to actually, for the rear wheels to actually touch down. Obviously, this is assuming you get it perfect. You might, you know, in the real world, you might be over the 1,000 meter. Sorry, 1,000 meter? Fucking hell, 1,000 feet mark. But your nose is further out. Yeah. As long as you touch down between that first 500-foot marker and the end of the touchdown zone marking, like the last one, you'll be fine, honestly. Your nose can be at the aim point, but your wheels touch down 5. Kind of. It's not that long. It's not, you know, it's not a 500-foot long aircraft, so it's not going to be quite there. But yeah, you're about right. If the plane's on a treadmill and there's a fan going, but it's not going anywhere, can it take? Yes, it can, because thrust is done through the engines, not through the wheels. How many poppadoms do you think you can eat in one sitting? Do we get sauce? Providing the fan can move the air at the speed needed to provide lift. Do we get sauce with the poppadoms? That's the question. That is the one that I want to know. Also ready when you are. Dan, if you go ahead, mate, start your stream, and we can raid you. Sauce is your choice. I think you'd need the sauce. Hey, Jamie Walton. How you doing, man? Yeah, you've got to have some sauce, because if you're trying to eat a shit ton of poppadoms dry, that'd be awful. Oh. I feel like your throat's closing up, wouldn't you? I love I've got 11 viewers and we're just sat here chatting about, like, how many poppadoms do you think you could eat? Give me a number. Oh, 75. The angle of descent is the angle planes fly in respect to the ground. When flying into a steady headwind, the ground speed will be lower at the same airspeed, but the descent rate will be the same. So if you're descending at the same rate but moving forward, so the angle will be steeper. Correct. Yeah. So if you've got yeah, exactly, that's just it. If you've got a strong headwind, you've got to reduce your rate of descent to keep that angle. You want to keep, ideally, about a 3-degree angle. So the Pappies, let's have a look. So those Pappies there, obviously, it does differ from airport to airport. ILS 22 right. The Pappies there were at a... where does it fucking say? 3.1 degree. Ideally you want about 3. So try reading this, but you can't understand. So your angle, if you think of it, if you drew it out, you've got your runway, and you literally drew a line at a 3-degree angle going up. That's the line you want to follow. Obviously your ground, the speed you're moving horizontally. No, why does a headwind create a larger rate? So no, a headwind, if you've got a strong headwind, you're going to want a smaller rate of descent. Poor, I reckon 100. I told you, we need to do a stream one day. We need to do once COVID's over, and we're all allowed to meet up, we need to do a Firing Blanks public stream, where we all try and eat as many poppadoms as we can in one sitting.
Beep, motherfucker!
Gracie Gaming, hello, thank you for the follow. How you doing? We live, catch you over there. Enjoy the stream, man. Go and have a good stream. We'll definitely raid you in a sec. So yeah, so if you've got a stronger headwind, you're moving horizontally slower. If you're moving horizontally slower, you need to move vertically slower to keep that same angle. With a tailwind, it'll be the other way around. I mean, you shouldn't really be landing with a tailwind if you can help it anyway. Obviously, sometimes it happens, but yeah. With a tailwind, to keep that same angle of descent, you're going to need a greater rate of descent because your horizontal speed is quicker, so therefore your vertical speed needs to be quicker. There you go, you've got it. Right. Everyone, thank you so much for watching the stream. Thank you for sticking with me through the fucking shit that happened on that approach. That was pretty incredible. Surprised we actually got down. We haven't broke it. Look, it's still in one piece. The tyres look flat. They're just glitched into the ground. Can you say that again so I remember that? So, headwind, if you've got a headwind, you're slower horizontal, you need a slower vertical. If you've got a tailwind, you're faster horizontally, you need a faster vertical, so you need a greater rate of descent. The angle will always stay the same. It's always going to be, in an ideal, it's always a 3-degree angle. Obviously, airports differ. Where we just landed here, it's a 3.1 degree. I think London City, that is potentially 5.5 degree. Correct me if I'm wrong. Right. Thank you all for watching then. We are going to go raid Crip in a Box. See you all very soon.